Hi, my name is Rose Murphy. I got bitten by a tick in 2001, and my story is pretty typical. I didn't realize what it was. I didn't have a rash. And then I became symptomatic on and off for the next 6 years until I collapsed at work. Then spent another year getting diagnosed and went on antibiotics for 3 years once a doctor finally tested me for Lyme. And in those 3 years of antibiotics and antifungals, I made progress. I started to be able to walk again, but I was still pretty symptomatic and still pretty sick. And at some point, I met someone who was using a coil machine, and she had gotten a lot better. And so for the past 5 years, I've been using a coil machine. You know, it was $2,000, and after spending close to $20,000 on antibiotics and doctors and tests and supplements and all the other things, $2,000 just didn't seem like that big a deal. I figured if it worked, and if it didn't, I'd sell it to somebody else. Well, in those 5 years of using the coil machine, I had remissions. I got well enough to fall in love and to get married and to travel a little bit and to start having dreams again and to start doing things again. And each of those periods of remission was followed by a relapse. And so I think what I'd like to say, and I should say, you know, there are dreams that I still have. I'd like to be able to have a child. And so I'm back on antibiotics and less than a year into working with the medical system again and poor insurance coverage. I've spent $26,000, and I'm not more well than I was using the coil machine, but the coil machine is not something you use when you're pregnant and are trying to keep the infections at bay. And so what I'd like to say is, I think that we as a culture and as a scientific community haven't figured out these chronic illnesses, these chronic infections. I think the chronic infections stay with you, and we don't know how to use antibiotics to get rid of them, and we don't have the tools yet. It would be great to have tests that could tell you if if your infection is still active or if you still have an infection, because some people think they go away. And we need tools besides antibiotics, although that's the best shot we have in the mainstream medical community. But I'd also like patients to be more empowered to use things like coil machines and other treatments that may or may not work for them. And I'd like there to be studies of things that include antibiotics but aren't limited to them, so that we learn a lot more about these illnesses and learn how to give people long-term remissions and be able to have their lives back. I write the coilingforlyme.com blog, and you can read more about my story there, and you can learn about the coil machine, and you can learn about my journey, and I wish you well. Thank you.